This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
It's Tony Galway shit show. And I know that the show is Tony Galway shit show. And I know, yeah.
All right. How are you getting on? You well? You good? How does this email find you? Well, does this email find you in a bad mood? I was in a weird mood today. I went to Emerald Park yesterday. Had a nice time. Did that thing that you see in the ads. I was like, kids. I was just kind of thinking there. We could maybe go to the zoo, maybe the farm, or maybe we just have a bit of a kickabout in the park, or maybe we go to Emerald Park. Yeah. And then they're really obedient and they're like, come on, get your bloody, before I change my mind. Go on, do whatever I say right now, with no hesitation, unless I change my bloody mind. Get your clothes on. Now, what that does actually, you think it's going to speed things up, but then the kids turn on each other. And then they're like, get your shoes on, we're going over, you're slow as no, you get your shoes on, you're slow as a little pack. So then all of a sudden you got an absolute flame war. You can see how easy it is to do, kind of get people pitted against each other for essentially the same objective, But anyway, we got suited and booted, headed out, and all of the rides were closed. All of the rides, all of the dun 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 Cool Cullen and Tin and Oak. All of the rides were closed. Only the zoo was open. Still, we had a wonderful time. If you want to see a woman in her element, bring Terry to a bunch of birds of prey and put big placards with facts there in front of them. Now, I thought that she was a loud reader of signs before she was a mother. There's something that happens when you're a mum. You just every single sign, Look at that there, Antiques Fair, open this Sunday, We asked the kids who's louder. Terry it was a landslide. It was an absolute bloody river by Christie, how much the kids thought that she talks louder than I do. But anyway, you just find these things out. As you know, I'm a card-carrying member of Emerald Park. I know the Coyne family very well. Me and Charles Coyne are we're the best friends. I did a voiceover for a documentary about Tato Park, now Emerald Park, and they very nicely gave me a membership as a not as payment. I got paid as well. Although I will say, I did the whole season of it, right? And they had all of the scripts, all printed out. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. We only have 1 hour to do 6 hours of television. And they're like, we're just going to do it. I'm like, fucking fair enough. RTE, no flies on you. It was tough though. I knew, look, thank you very much for the gig. Speaking of gigs, listen, kind of a stadium comedian now. Hey, no big deal. I'm still the same guy, fella. I still eat my chia seeds. I still buy the same kind of, I wouldn't be getting milled, I'd be getting kind of whole chia seeds. I still get my chia seeds, the same. I'm still putting my chia seeds into my smoothies the same, I'm still buying, not exactly champagne, but it's a very fine kind of cava, the same as you would. I'm still the same kind of guy. Although my wife's alpaca hat went missing, and I'm going to need that alpaca, to be perfectly honest. If you were at the Point Depot, also known as the Three Arena, Three Arena, formerly the O2, and you stole my wife's alpaca hat, I'm fucking, hey, let's take it easy here. Take it easy there, man. if you can just give it back whenever you find a suitable time. But I imagine if you've had an overcoat and you happen to be in the crowd, the Hot Press 50th anniversary show that was on in the Point Depot 3 Arena, and you took an overcoat off of the whatever you call it, gate or whatever, it was hung up. Why she left it there? Hey, different story. But anyway, and you put your hand in your pocket expecting to find, I don't know, your keys, and instead you found a gigantic alpaca hat. And thought there was nothing weird about that. I have to tell you, sorry, those are not your keys or wallet. That is actually my wife's alpaca hat. The big fluffy hat. No alpacas were killed, I hope. You never know. Looked like a nice farm. We were there. But yeah, no, I'm a stadium comedian now. Everything, I'm still the same kind of guy. So what if I drink cava and I buy alpaca hats? Hopefully just the one. And we get the other one back for my wife. I'm still the same kind of guy. A lot of fun, though, I have to say. Thank you very much, Hot Press, for having me. Weirdly, I have like a joke about the happy pair and how everyone finds them very suspicious because they're so happy. They've reached out to send some granola. And another business I mentioned, Ashburn Paving, who had the funniest comment I've ever seen on TikTok, also post a video. So you forget people in person. I don't know. I found it weird. Oh, God. Do you know what? I feel like I'm getting into bloody name drop corner here. Was it Louis Walsh or Bono he the horn for? Let's find out in Tony's name drop corner. Here we go. I was chatting to Gavin James before. Andy and Dempsey. Nice people. Was it Louis Walsh or Bono he the horn for? It was Gavin James, Andy and Dempsey. Here we go. You can't. But anyway, I hope you're keeping well. Do you know what's been on my mind recently? Don't know if you have this. I have a rival, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know at all. But what happened was, I was making small talk with a bunch of dads in the area, right? And didn't even really talk much to this guy, but maybe we kind of shared a bit of it, back and forth or whatever. And then the conversation was over, see those dads around, give them a nod. One of the lads who was in this chat, not giving me a nod at all. My neck is creaked and craned from trying to get the attention of this man. It's complete. He's acting as if it wasn't much. It wasn't that we shared like an intimate shag, but he is completely blanking me in the local area in Dublin 14, and I'm desperate for. I know a lot of people, and I think about, my close friends and family. This guy's in my fucking Mount Rushmore of people I think about on a daily basis. He's in my dreams because he just will not acknowledge me. I don't even remember. I can't even remember. I don't even know his name, but I'm nodding at him, and he's completely blanking me, and I want him to love me so much. I don't, he's not, it's not like he has like a, N64 or something. And I want to be besties with him so I can play his N64, or we have I don't even think we have that much in common. But I think about him. I see him on the road and I'm like, he won't nod at me, Terry. And she's like, I know, whatever. Maybe just in his own world or whatever, maybe he's, whatever. But I dream about him anyway. Do you ever have those people? He's my one. I don't even hate him. I think I love him. Who knew this whole time? The biggest thing you can do to get me to love you and think about you all the time is not talk to me at all. So effective, and I hate it. But yeah, no, Emerald Park was nice, I have to say. As was my, I think they said it was a record-breaking. Maybe 100,000 people were there, so it was pretty cool. 100,000 people in the Point Depot. So I think, I don't know, I'm not very good with numbers of people. Although I will say, I was at the gig, so I was at this gig or whatever, and I performed, but then I would I wasn't really hanging around the green room, even though Van Morrison was knocking around. In fact, Van Morrison actually opened for me, as did President Michael D. Higgins, give the old timers a bit of a dig out. But I, was chatting to a few people, but I was mostly just going back to where, Terry and my mates were, just in the main kind of stand-in area. Normally not a stand-in guy, I have to say, at a gig. But, I was taking breaks, going to the green room, sitting down. I did 2 poos as well, so that was a bit of a break as well. Anyway, what am I talking about? I was there okay, so I left my coat not on a railing with my alpaca hat in it, but in the green room. And then when the gig was over and I was leaving, I went back in there and the green room was empty. It was coming towards the end of the gig. Boomtown Rats had just taken the stage. And while I was getting my coat, I, had a couple of pints. I'd had a couple of pints in me. Started stuffing all packets of crisps in my pocket. And someone who worked for MCD maybe just kind of looked in. It was kind of, I could kind of see their silhouette in the reflection of my glasses while I was facing their, I had my back to them. And I was stuffing hunky-dories in my pocket like I'd never eaten, and then taking a handful of celebrations from a bowl and stuffing them in my pockets. And they stood and watched me for a couple of seconds. By the time I turned around, they were gone. And I'd say that paints a very different picture of me than who I am. Or, I think I've actually just been seen to be, seen at my truest form. Someone that, despite the occasion, I'm still fleecing free grub from an unsupervised room. So, to whoever that person is, yeah, you got me. So what? You fucking do nothing. No, I know. But yeah, I was chatting to my brother-in-law. We were talking about, because he's, safe company. You know what I mean? So when we talk about our kids, we're within, fucking, private, the private arena of the kinship of fathers, who are in the know together, that we can really tell each other how much we adore our children. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a weird thing. You have to be very private about how much you love your kids. The kind of social contract is that if you're out and about in public and, you catch eyes with someone who is familiar with a child, because a lot of people aren't familiar with a child. Young people, Marhampla, even though they used to be one, are not familiar with kids. They don't stare at your kids. So they don't stare at all. And then, you've got people who maybe have kids with them and they'll catch eyes with you in a kind of knowing look. And then there's even some people who look at you with your kids who don't have kids with them, but you assume that they know kids. Maybe their kids are not there, or that they have nieces or nephews or grandkids or something. And then, of course, it can swing all the way to the end where it's just people fucking staring at you and your kids and they're not smiling at all. And you're going, okay, easy, mate, easy. Not for you. These aren't for you. All right? So it can kind of swing different ways. But when you kind of share a knowing glance with someone who sees that you have kids, you feel obliged to make some deprecating remark about your kids. You could be there in Tesco or whatever, and you're walking down the biscuit aisle or whatever, and then you kind of get a bit of, someone kind of roll their eyes at you, and now it's on. Now that the roast of your children has opened and you have to start rinsing your kids for no reason other than the fact that you've caught a glance with a stranger, You have to say something like, oh, I'll tell you what, if these little cunts had their way, it'd be nothing but fucking biscuits and sugar. The little sugar-addicted little twats, You have to almost say, or at least I find I have to say, when in reality, I would like to share a knowing look with someone and with the kids and be honest with them and say, bow down and weep. This is beauty. This is God, you fucking paganist cretin. You want to be like, you know nothing of love. Let you live an eternity and but taste a crumb or morsel of the passionate love I feel for these kids. And may all of your days be blessed with that crumb. You cretin. is what you want to say. Or if you're in an elevator, you know, and the kids start going 90 with the buttons or whatever, you want to be like, these are my kids' buttons now. And waft in the scent of pure beauty while we share this lift together. It smells a lot like chocolate and raspberries because they always have that on their face. You know? Don't touch any of my kids' buttons. You'll get out when my kid says you can get out. Now that's, I know, but I don't apply that ideology to my parenting. And actually, do you know what? They can get pretty fucking annoying in the elevator, to be honest, because I got shit to do as well. So as much as I do love them, maybe they shouldn't be in all the buns. I'm just saying that this isn't something that I follow through in. I'm not going to give them all the biscuits or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that there's a social contract. You have to roast the kids, you know? And, you know, little ears, you know what I mean? They pick up on this stuff. Sponges. Like, for example, we try not to swear around the kids. And tell you, before I had kids, I was all like, I'm not going to fucking change how I cunt and speak around the kids. They'll just know the times you can do and the times you can't. Or we use fucking cunt as an affectionate term. Term. Do you know? And then you're like, do you know what? You know, I just don't. I'd rather not be called one. I'd rather not be. Kids just latch on to whatever new word they heard. Remember I heard the word pedophile. I was calling everyone a pedophile when I was a kid. Pedophile. You know? Gigolo, actually. We call a lot of people gigolos. You're a gigolo. What's that? It's a man prostitute is a gigolo, we used to say. Dr. Quirky's, I remember hearing, don't go into Dr. Quirky's after 4 p.m. on O'Connell Street. Why not? Load of gigolos in there. You know? I'm like, well, I would have to, for me to be, they're not going to be giving away freebies. You know what I mean? There's difference between like deviants. Actually, gigolo is probably the safest place. I mean, you're not giving them money, they're not going to touch you. I imagine. I don't know. You don't hear the word gigolo much these days. Anyway, do you ever do this thing where, I've talked about this in the pod before, where I feel like I have to like rationalize. And I think I've worked it out in therapy a little bit where I can't really just sit in a feeling which is kind of like, oh, this is sad, or this makes me angry. I have to almost like put this is fine because, and then my brain hasn't really caught up as to why that's fine, you know? But like I had this weird one where I was at the Hellfire Club, going for a little hike with the fam, and I was reversing out of the parking spot, and there was these, you know, young enough, you know, my age probably, a little bit older actually, not to be casting any shade here, but a little bit older than me by the looks of them, right? Let's just say they didn't look exactly 21, which is accurate. They look more in the kind of late 30s, early 40s, these two ladies. Anyway, it's a weird one, isn't it, when you say, like, you're not exactly a model. You know, you're not a model. Would be a really offensive thing to say, but most people are not, you know? You know, you're not a scientist. Yeah, he wouldn't exactly be a scientist. Okay. You know what I mean? It's mad, isn't it? The kind of opinion you have of yourself. He said I wasn't a model. You're not. Oh, he said I'm not exactly, you know. He's not exactly Brad Pitt. No one is, apart from Brad Pitt. Anyway, moving on. These ladies that were, let's just say they weren't exactly 17. That sounds creepy. They were walking by while I was reversing, and so I stopped when they disappeared from my blind spot. And then I checked the rear. They weren't there. Checked the other side mirror. They weren't there. Went back to my original side mirror. They weren't there. I had to wind down the window, look out. They're standing right in the blind spot. And because they had disappeared and I didn't want to kill them, it took me a little while to find them. And I look out, and they've been standing there the whole time. And then your one, who let's just say wasn't exactly 21, went, as in like, drive. And it made me so angry. it made me so angry. Because I don't like that anyway. I don't like anyone being like, go on. Winds me up fucking so much, right? So I kind of went, I'm angry. But you know what? I feel bad for her. And then I couldn't quite figure out why. And then I was kind of thinking of like, maybe for her to have that kind of face with a stranger, she probably is a bit of a dickhead, and a lot of her friends probably think she's a dickhead, and they don't really say it to her. And then when she talks about things like not really being able just to find anyone, they like are biting their tongue. You know what I mean? That's where I had to go with that. This hypothetical spinster or something. Do you ever find that? I'm making up kind of like, not insanely sad and desperate stories, but just something to place, I was 10 steps ahead. Oh, well, that's unfortunate for her. Why? I'm making up a little story. And then I felt bad for her a little bit. Actually, you know what? I didn't. And I was like, yeah, serves her right. No wonder she can't find anyone. Completely made up in my head. But I also just don't like fucking seeing people watching me drive. I don't like people watching, people just standing there like fucking NPCs while you're trying to reverse out somewhere. What are you doing? What? Like, I understand, like whatever, the people might stand at the door of, which I also, actually, I don't understand. I wouldn't even be one, when you're leaving their house and they're standing there in the door watching you kind of speed off and they expect a little beep, which I'm not giving them. I do not beep. I obey the rules of the road. My wife, very cavalier with the fucking horn. Very fucking cavalier with that horn. It says, like the rule says, do not beep the horn. It can only be used very specific time of day to alert oncoming traffic of an impending danger. All right? Not as Terry would use it, which is, only to be used when you see anyone to alert them that you are in a car, which is her kind of preferred way of using the horn. But, yeah, so a lot of people to be standing there waiting for you to kind of pull off and give you a little courtesy beep. I hate this whole. It's not even like I get nervous about people watching me drive, or if you maybe are meeting up with people and you both arrive at the car park, and then you can see them in the car park and they just stand there and watch you park your car. Like it's kind of this like, everyone knows it's cruel, but we do it anyway. Does anyone like to see? And it's not even like I'm a confident driver, but it's kind of like when someone's watching me kind of park, I kind of feel like they expect me to put on a little show or something. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a showman, of course. And I mean, like, what do you, like, say if you're leaving someone's, is any of this making sense? If you're leaving someone's house and you're walking, right, and then you turn around and you see they're still watching you walk away from their door because they haven't had enough of it yet. Like, I might turn that into a bit of a dance or pretend to fall over, Because, to be honest, you've made this really fucking weird that now I'm doing a little show for you here. You've been staring at me for so long, I feel like it has to be worth your time. And I get the same feeling when I'm, like, parking the car, people are staring at me, like, what do you want to do? And I get disappointed in myself that I can't do anything funny with this vehicle of death, this machine. Like, what am I going to do? Start doing fucking donuts in your garden? Stop watching me. All that you're going to see is the car that was this big is going to shrink down a bit this big as it drives away. That's it. If you want to see a car go from big to small as it goes further away, get on clip art, all right? Get on MS Paint. Get a little, copy paste a picture of a car and then grab one of the little things at the corner and just make it big, small, big, small, big, small. You can do that yourself. Or, get a picture of a car on your phone and zoom in, zoom out. I don't know what you want me to do. Stop looking at my fucking car. But also, thanks very much for worrying about me and making sure I get home safe. I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about that. I don't like people looking at me in the car, doing something in the car. It's weird. As a brazen attention seeker, I don't like people watching me walk, and I don't like people watching me in the car. I was sitting in a cafe with my child. In fact, I bit my tongue there. I bit my tongue on a sandwich. I thought I thought I had a big piece of juicy meat in my mouth. Turned out it was my bloody tongue. And I bit it. You know? That's all I have to really about that, you know? Do you ever see, do you know who I think? And I know people hate talking about even hypothetical situations where I'm not even with my darling wife, Terry. As I told you before, I made some joke about grieving dream girlfriends at a comedy gig. Suck the fucking end. I'd tell you. Someone opened the fucking hatch door on the International Space Station as soon as I said that. You know, lads getting their eyes fucking sucked out of their sockets just because I said it. I had a dream about another woman. But you do grieve them. They're all gone, you know? Anyway, it doesn't matter. People don't like that kind of chat. But the reason I say that is I always feel like if I wasn't with my fairly grounded, you know, well, also quite exciting and crazy in her own way, wife, that I would have ended up with, like, you know, I would have been duped into the kind of like pixie dream girl thing. But ultimately what it would have been is kind of like, you know, community drama, crazy, kind of not having a go at anyone who does community theatre. But you know what I mean? Drama school crazy, you know? Kind of like where might be having a kiss and she'd just be like, I'm going to bite your nose. Ow. And I'm like, ow, what the fuck? And she'd be like, ah, you know, that kind of thing. You know the kind of people, their hair is always wet, even when they're not just trying a wet look kind of thing. You can do that if you want, you know? But I'm saying, you know, you know the kind of person you might meet them on holiday, you know, and in a non-romantic way, just kind of like you're there, you're interrailing, maybe you're backpacking through South America, you know, you meet this kind of one and you're kind of like, oh, wow, this person seems really nice. Yeah, sure, we'll go for dinner with you, you know? And, you know, at first it's kind of like, you know, we do a lot of shots, you know, and they hit you in the arm too hard. And then before you know, it's like, here, we robbed the till for a laugh. We robbed the till of the hostel for a laugh, you know? And you're like, oh, you know? Anyone who makes a big first impression early on in whatever situation you go to, first day in school, first day in the job, you know, in a hostel, anyone who's making that big first impression, they might bite your nose. I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, I bit my tongue. Anyway, in the cafe, there was this dad in his like 60s. No, probably 50s, I'd say. And he was meeting up with a couple of friends. Seemed like they hadn't seen each other in years. And he was the last one in. Looked a little bit stressed. And sat down with them. And he had with him clearly the family's cockapoo dog. Maybe about 1 year old, you know. A bit long, you know, but still had that kind of like youthful. Yeah, let's just say this cockapoo wasn't exactly a puppy, if you get what I mean. Let's just say it wasn't exactly an old cockapoo. Anyway, I could tell this was going to be good, right? Because he had the leash wrapped around his hand, like about 5 times, you know? And he was like, trying to be real kind of chill about it. You know, and this would be a cafe, you could probably let your dog in. But you know. Anyway, he sat down, they're there chatting, and be like, oh yeah, how is Brian doing? And the cockapoo, and he's like trying to hold it under the table, and he's nodding along, oh yeah, you know, barking at kids and stuff. And he was trying to ignore it, and he didn't even mention it. He was just trying to like maintain the conversation while, you know, using a lot of force in his tensed arms, holding the fucking dog down. And it gave me a beautiful reminder of just, you know, I've sacrificed a lot for my gorgeous family who I love. You know, yeah, bow down. They are God. These are their buttons, etc. The kids. You know, I've sacrificed a lot of time. I've aged terribly since they've been born. Because I have to do like 20,000 more things by 9 a.m. than I probably ever did in my entire lifetime previous to that, you know? So like I've accumulated extra hours of living since they've been knocking around, right? I've sacrificed a lot of money. Expensive, right? I've sacrificed my social life, all right? I've even had to put my beloved alcoholism on hold for a little bit. For a little bit. It'll be coming back, don't you worry, right? Drugs. Can't do them anymore. I've sacrificed a lot. Holidays. small plates. I can't even list the amount of things, right? Going for small plates. Anyway, so I need to remember now that when the opportunity is on the horizon, that I can actually just meet up with my friends for lunch and it not being a monumental impact on the family. That I'm not, why would I fucking destroy that by agreeing to get a little dog that these fuckers are not even going to look after? This guy, he's given so much, he can't even have a fucking toasty with friends he hasn't seen in years without this cockapoo that, let's just say, is not exactly a puppy anymore. Kids are over it. And I tell you, I actually was happy to see how miserable he was. I was happy. And it had to be that. I had to see how bad of a time he was having, you know, because I'm not having to go at anyone. If the dog is part of your lifestyle, I realize now my lifestyle is not dog friendly. My ideal lifestyle is, you know, cane and pints, eating nice food for as long as I can. You know, my social life, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It was a nice reminder to not give another fucking inch to these beautiful kids who I adore. Speaking of dogs, a fox keeps stealing my eggs. And I know that's not a canine, whatever. They're all bloody dogs. They're all bloody dogs, isn't it? Cat's a fucking dog if you think about it. And they're all just fucking dogs. Joe, they're all dogs at the end of the day, right? They're all dogs. My young fella was desperate. He said, "Good day, can we get a cockapoo?" I'm the only, and you look after the cockapoo. I said, "I got my fox. He'd been chewing the face off him at night, Joe." I said, "They're all dogs, but this one's got to go." Anyway, the fox keeps stealing my eggs. And I was going to give out about it, but I actually find it really kind of quaint. And I kind of love it. It's kind of very rascally, you know? Coming in here, the voice of George Clooney, stealing my eggs. And what's weird is, not only do I find it very kind of quaint and storybook, the fox keeps stealing my eggs. I'm also very impressed by the elusive nature of this fox. Sneaky as, because it's not coming up on the Ring doorbell. The Ring doorbell is pretty fucking dumb, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? AI revolution. And they're like, yeah, none to see here. Oh no, but, you know, that's just a fox absolutely shredding cardboard and yolk in your front garden. But it's not a human, so I didn't want to tell you about it. What if you fucking Ring doorbell, you absolute numpty? Don't you think I want to see that shit? Record that shit, you absolute gobdaw. That's the thing about these Ring doorbells, man. They don't care if it's a man coming in your house shredding all your eggs, he'll let you know about it. But if he's a fox, he doesn't give a shit, man. He's like, it's all dogs or whatever. I don't really care about dog. It's not in my program and give a shit about fox ripping the eggs out. If that was a human, though, I would be fucking livid. And I would have the evidence. I would, oh my God, I would be so mad. I would be absolutely. And I would, if I knew it was like a neighbour and he kept doing it, coming into my front, leaving the milk, and just with his teeth just shredding the cartons and leaving most of the eggs. They're just broken. You know? I would be thinking, like, and I don't know why, my brain immediately goes to, shit, I need to put poo in his house somehow. I need to get as much poo as I can into his house. I need to scoop up poo and like just like slide it in like with credit cards under his door, you know? I need to have a drone drop poo down his chimney. You know, po. Merry Shipmas. You know? I'm gonna make some fucking Santa Claus. Forget it. I'd be trying to get as much poo as I possibly could into this person's house if I knew that they were. Oh man, can I tell you about this? The WhatsApp group was kicking off. Someone left a bag of rubbish. The community WhatsApp group in the estate was kicking off because someone left their rubbish next to someone else's bin. And one of the people in the WhatsApp group said, I think we need to print off this picture and put it in the door of every single person in this estate, just to show that this is not appropriate behavior. And I thought, like, we can all... That's someone wishing they were in the canteen again. That's someone being, I haven't been able to take out my laminator in a long time to tell people to not leave their dirty dishes in the sink. So maybe I just need to print off. It wasn't even their problem. I'm going to print off this photo 100 times and put it through every fucking door on your behalf to say this behavior is... Whoa. This is what happens. This is what happens when you run out of things to give a fuck about. You start getting fucking fast and loose with the printer and the laminator. It's what happens. It happens to everyone. Everyone. Okay? It happened to everyone. Eventually you get up on your life, no run out of thought to give. It happened to everyone. You get a printer, you'll get a laminator. I'm verging into a problematic accent a little bit. But, oof. What about the biggest issue is oof de le fucking fox. Eating all my eggs. Anyone going to do anything about that? I think I'm actually going to, the next time this happens with the eggs, I'm going to throw it up in the community WhatsApp group and be like, this is getting very frustrating. This is the 4th time now. One of you, because I know you're in here, has come into my drive. And it seems to be exactly at the time the eggs are delivered. It's almost like you have a lupine-like ability to smell. And absolutely shredding these eggs. And you don't even eat all of the eggs, whoever you are. You just crack them open and lick some of the yolk before you scarper her off. Whoever this is, please stop now. I don't like any of my mirrors at the moment. I don't like what they're showing me. And, love yourself, I do. On a regular basis, if you know what I mean. I know, God. No, I do love myself, I love other people a lot more, but I'm in there, So yeah, I do like myself. And weirdly, I have this fucking body dysmorphia thing that when I actually gain weight, I think I look really good. Like, I think I look like stacked or whatever. Anyway, it's beside the point. You don't need to know about my body image issues, right? Or pros, whatever. I want to get I don't like the way the mirrors are showing me. And I want to get my ideal mirror. Like, windows are looking really good right now. Windows are treating me very fucking well, My eyes look good. I look very handsome. I think I'd love to just get rid of all of my mirrors and just put up, instead of like just a mirror, it's just like you look in it and it's just like a shop window. You look at you walk up to what you think is a mirror and you just see your reflection. It's actually just the shop window of like a Chinese restaurant. You're just staring in there. Because I actually like staring in those as well. You're walking by like a Chinese restaurant and the menu looks good, but you just want to peek inside because you hope Chinese people are in there. Which is also kind of a weird thing where you're kind of like, do you know what? I'm going to just peer in this window because what I really want to see is a load of Chinese people in there. Which is just a mad thought. But in reality, it's just because you want to see the people of that culture eating the cuisine of that culture so that it's good. But it is a weird thought, and you're walking by like, oh, there's a lovely smell of like spices coming from this restaurant, this Indian restaurant. I'm going to pop my eyes in here. And what I want to see, I don't want to see any white people as well, is what you're also thinking. You're also being like, I tell you who I don't want to fucking see in there. White people. I don't want to see fucking Irish people in there. Which is a weird thought. It's kind of, it's not far on the, on the swing of being super racist, but it's like a small little morsel of racism. I don't want to see any fucking patties in there. I want to see nothing but Chinese people in there. And in that place, I want to see nothing but Indians in there. So that if I go there, I know the food's good. Anyways, I'm just saying that's probably one of my favorite windows to stare in. It's like a Chinese restaurant window. So that would be one of my mirrors. Another one, of course, would be, the car window. Where you're looking in, you don't know someone's in there. Because I only ever really look in the car window when I feel like I'm looking good. And then you see the person's in there, everyone's had that. And then also you get a bit of a kick where you get to be like, I'm handsome, but also you're fucking scared of me. Well, you'll do nothing. Does this make sense to me? Does this make sense to me? Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying I want to get rid of all my mirrors and replace them with windows because I look better in them. And if it was a genie-like situation where they could just give me whatever windows I want one of them to be a Chinese shop, a restaurant full of Chinese people, and another one where I'm scaring someone in their car. Anyway, listen, thanks very much. Hopefully you enjoyed this set. I kind of put a bit of effort into making this YouTube video. If you've been watching, look good. This is, this shed is not big enough, really, to shoot a video podcast. So I have just hoofed everything else that's supposed to be in the shed down towards from what we're behind the camera. So it's it's a proper fucking shithole in here, but hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know if you do. I'm going to be on tour. You Cry Weird is coming to a place near you. I'm going to be in Greystones in the Whale Theatre on February 14th, in London in Top Secret Comedy on February 26th. I'm going to be in Kavanagh in Portlaoise on March the 6th. I'm going to be in the Draiocht in Blanch, baby, on March 13th. I'm going to be in DeBarras in Cork on March 20th. I'm also going to be in Cyprus Avenue in Cork on April 24th. I'm going to be in the Abbey Tavern in Howth on March 21st. Monroe's in Galway on April 11th. Vicar Street, baby, on the 18th of April. I'm going to be in the Spirit Store in Dundalk on May 2nd. Dolan's in Limerick on May 8th. I'm going to be in Waterford for the first time in Bank Lane on May 24th. I'm going to be in the Pavillion in Dunleary also for the first time on May 28th. I'm going to be in the Limelight 2 in Belfast on May 29th. I'm going to be in the Moat Theatre in Kildare. Hope I can bloody get in. Hope they lower the bloody drawbridge. I know tickets aren't doing well for that. That's in June 4th in Kildare. I'm going to be in the Mill Theatre in Dundrum on June 5th, and I would love to see you there. If any of those for some reason get cancelled and I say things like, sorry, just it's a bit of a time thing, whatever, messed up, they just didn't sell. But they are selling quite well. But I'm just saying that's what people do. Just to let you know. Anyway, all the best. I love you so dearly. Bye-bye.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.